All right, YouTube. It's Wednesday morning, hump day. I want to talk to y'all about some new developments as far as in this migrant situation. Well, I wouldn't even say that it's very new, but people need to pay attention. And I was talking about this maybe several months ago about how Venezuela had emptied their prisons and took their prisoners to the border. So that means you had an influx of criminals and gangs that have started operating within the United States. Now you got to think about this. They getting all those benefits and bridge cards and money and housing, but they still are forming criminal organizations. They still forming super gangs. You know what I'm saying? It's not even a secret at this point that they're operating their gangs throughout the United States. And if you know anything about their culture, a lot of these people, if you know, you're not even safe when you go to their country. They do kidnappings and you know what I mean, ransom people off and do all kind of things, trafficking, everything. So you mean to tell me the United States government opened up our borders while at the same time they were screaming, defund the police? And that's deep. You open up our borders to criminals and villains. Then you say defund the police. Then you start trying to change the gun laws as if you are complicit in this replacement, in this annihilation of what our American culture was or is. It's a very threat to the peace and stability of the country. Now, I get a lot of trolls, you know what I mean? Sometimes I think they're white because they say stuff like, y'all in Detroit, this is what you voted for. And I just say to them, how do you know what anybody voted for? You know what I mean? You a biased person. You think because a person is black, they automatically uh, are part of a monolith on the Democratic plantation. And that's not true. So those comments, they be trolling and they be divisive because they're basing the thought that somebody supports this administration on the color of their skin, which is cool if that's who you are. If that's who you are, this channel ain't for you. Maybe you need to move around. You know what I'm saying? They got channels that stick to that old script, uh, racial divide. But in America right now, we don't have no time for that. To be pointing the finger at who allowed uh, these Democratic politicians in office. Nobody expected to see this level of dereliction of duty, this level of betrayal to the country. Nobody expected to see this ever in the history of this country. Have a president literally opened the borders and let millions of intruders into our country. This has never happened. So how could we vote for that? So I want you to look into what they're discovering about these gangs. You know what I mean? Because now we're talking about the safety and security of the general populace, the average everyday Joe. You know what I mean? Who got to go to work and worry about somebody breaking his car, robbing him, or whatever. This is for these people. You know what I mean? Who have to learn some way to protect themselves and protect their communities. So watch this little take on what they're discovering. You know what I mean? Tell me what you think in the comments. This is for fair use in the 1976 Copyright Act, educational person commentary. Listen to what they're talking about now.
Crime is making its way right here to the United States. One criminal gang that has been causing havoc throughout Latin America is now in South Florida. The Venezuelan crime is making.
Now I want to stop right there before I start because I want you to think about what she said. She was saying the very criminals in Venezuela that were terrorizing Venezuela, they're here now. Check this out.
The Venezuelan crime is making its way right here to the United States. Police say one criminal gang that has been causing havoc throughout Latin America is now in South Florida, and at least one of its members was involved in a recent murder. Jorge Ventura joins us live with more. Jorge, this has been a growing concern across the United States. What more can you share with us this morning? Yeah, that's right, Marky. Venezuela's largest criminal organization is now operating inside the United States in cities like Chicago and Miami. Sources telling News Nation that known members from a Venezuelan prison gang named Tren de Aragua have joined the millions of Venezuelans leaving the country on the way to the U.S. The Miami Herald is reporting that an alleged member and a Venezuelan migrant is now being charged with murder of a retired Venezuelan police officer in South Florida. According to police reports, a 23-year-old Yerwin Salazar played a role in luring, abducting, and killing that officer in late November. Violent crimes like this murder are common in Venezuela and are a major reason why hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans are leaving the country. Members of the gang openly pose with weapons on social media and are known to have a tattoo of a train. I spoke with immigration lawyer based in South Florida who represents Venezuelan migrants. He tells me many of them have been extorted and kidnapped by Tren de Aragua members and fear for their lives now here in the U.S. And even he has faced death threats for calling attention to the gang's crimes. They're carrying out their criminal activity. They're extorting. They're sex trafficking. They're trafficking drugs.
Are you hearing this? Are you listening to this? You know what I mean? I got another story about the deadly gangs forming alliances in New York City. I'm gonna show you that one next. But think about what he said. Think about the type of crimes that they commit. You know what I mean? Even when you look at the average uh, gang violence that you have in these major cities, you don't have the level of violence and the level of criminality that they possess coming out of those third world countries. You know what I'm saying? They do things that we don't even consider doing. Like, you remember how he just said he lured a police officer? Like, who actually goes and kidnaps police officers? You know what I'm saying? And and then one group of individuals, they doing trafficking of people, trafficking of drugs. You know what I mean? It's like the American government and these Democrats imported more crime. You know, there was a drop in crime in the neighborhoods and communities. They didn't even report that. But for the last several years, they've been sneaking these people for like last 3 years to where now there are millions and millions of people. There might even be sleeper cells in this country. We don't know. They have totally made us unsecure, and they have totally made our communities more dangerous to live in because we don't know who they'll let in the door. But these are some of the people.
Murders, contract killings. I've been threatened by this group. The green light to go ahead and kill me. That's the word they use. Now, while Salazar is arrested and charged, law enforcement officials in South Florida are still looking for 4 other suspects connected to that murder in November and believe that some of those suspects could be connected to that Venezuelan prison gang. Marky. Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your television.
I got one more story dealing on this same issue with these gangs. And like I told you, the name of this from the New York Post is Deadly Gangs Are Forming Alliances in New York City. That means that a lot of the Hispanic gangs that been here, maybe second generation, or, you know what I mean, second generation people from South America, Dominican Republic, they are starting to network with these immigrants based on the fact that they all speak Spanish. You got to be careful now. You really got to be super careful.
On FanDuel Casino, you can play hundreds of games, like Buffalo, and get up to. So we've seen a spate of some very brazen cell phone robberies in New York City that's been attributed to a Venezuelan gang called Tren de Aragua, which has its origins at a prison outside of Caracas. A number of the gang members escaped in September 2023 when the Venezuelan government raided the prison. And a lot of them have come over within this surge of migrants from Venezuela into the United States. In the last fiscal year, there have been like 340,000 encounters at the U.S. southern border with Venezuelan migrants. Among those, Border Patrol has apprehended 41 Tren de Aragua gang members. Law enforcement says they are infiltrating cities in the United States and maybe forming alliances with gangs that are already established here. We're seeing the presence of Tren de Aragua in New York City. We're seeing all these brazen cell phone robberies where two guys on a moped will go onto a sidewalk in Manhattan and they will steal a cell phone out of the hands of somebody who's actually talking on the phone. This is important because if you're talking on the phone, your phone is open. So the guy on the back of the scooter just keeps tapping the phone so that all of your apps are open, and then they take it back to a gang leader in the Bronx where, you know, a hacker goes through and drains people's bank accounts. The phones are then bundled up and sent to Colombia where they're resold. So it's suddenly a big menace.
That community keeps saying, "Why aren't the police coming out?" Shot spotter.
So you can see what's being revealed and what's coming out so far. So we know this is really the tip of the iceberg. But the security and safety of your families and your community should be of the utmost importance at this particular time. Taking care of your children, your wives, and your community, and being vigilant. At this time, we don't really have time to bicker amongst us as Americans. That goes for Black Americans and white Americans. You know what I mean? They've been here. And then the reason I don't include other ones is because they still be having ties and loyalties to their own country. Think about that. You know, that's a fact. That's why they'll tell you, I'm from here, or I'm from Haiti, or I'm from here. Their loyalties are still attached to that. So, regardless of color, if you're an American, you know what I mean, and you've been here, and your roots is here, and the blood of your ancestors is here, you don't have time to be going backwards when you got this super threat right in front of you. You know what I mean? You know, a lot of this stuff is biblical. It was seen in the Bible and scriptures. You know what I'm saying? So I want you to think about this aspect of it. I've been showing you how they get over here, and I've been showing you a lot of other things. Now I'm going to start diving off into the actual crimes and the actual levels that they're minimizing to show you what's really going on in your community. So like, share, and subscribe. Keep your head on a swivel. Peace out of Detroit.